Hey everyone, Matt here from VapeRev. In this week's EDU, I'll be demonstrating how to rebuild the Anima by Atmomixani. The Anima is a rebuildable dripping atomizer, but it uses a coil configuration that is slightly different from normal. So for this video, I'll be building dual vertical microcoils using cotton wicks. However, you can use other materials such as silica or eco-wool as well. It may take a little practice getting used to constructing vertical rather than horizontal coils, but hopefully after watching this video, you'll have a good understanding of how this is done. So here we go. Before I start the rebuilding process, I'm just going to walk you through the tools and materials you'll need for it. So first of all, you'll need a pair of scissors, some needle nose pliers, a pair of wire cutters. Of course, you'll need some e-liquid, and since this is a dripping atomizer, I put my e-liquid into a juice canister, a Phillips head screwdriver, a drill bit to wrap your coil on, and for this I'm using a 7/64 size drill bit, 2 sections of cotton, and this is CelluCotton, which is rayon, 2 segments of kanthal, and for this build I'm using 28 gauge kanthal. Of course, you'll need a mouthpiece, the Anima, and a mod to put it on, and this is the Nemi by Atmomixani, and I'm using the Anima in hybrid mode. A quick overview of the Anima before I actually start wrapping the coils. As I mentioned earlier, it's a rebuildable dripping atomizer, and it features a hybrid connection for the Nemi as well as a standard 510 connection. It has adjustable airflow via this ring on the top cap, and your holes are indicated by the dimples which are in the very top of the top cap. And removing the top right there, you'll see that, as I mentioned earlier, this does utilize vertical coils, and the reason for that is because you can see that there's not a lot of room to work with here on the atomizer deck. So Atmomixani engineered the Anima to use vertical coils so that you can do dual coil setups and still have enough room for your wick. Now I'm going to start wrapping my coils. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using 28 gauge, and so for each coil I'm going to do 7 wraps. So on this one I'm going to start with the kanthal on the underside of the drill bit. Alright, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you want both leads coming out the top for each coil. So that's one coil built. Now on this one, you want it started with a kanthal on the top side of the drill bit. It's going to essentially give you a reverse coil. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And again, you want both leads coming out the same side. So there we have both of our coils built. Now we can go ahead and attach them to the Anima. And to give me a solid base to work with, I went ahead and threaded the Anima onto my Nemi. Just make sure your device is locked if you're using this method. So I'm going to start with the first coil. And what I want to do is I want to have the bottom lead to be sitting right next to this negative post right there. I'm going to go ahead and hold it down with my drill bit and just pull it around the post. Hold it down with my other finger and go ahead and tighten this one down. And I'm just going to double check to make sure that it's snug, which it doesn't. So tighten it down a little bit more. Okay, we're good on that one. And for the positive lead, I'm going to wrap it around counterclockwise. And I'm just going to pull it around the post just to kink it, because I do still have to attach my other coil. So now I'm just going to carefully remove the drill bit. I'm going to turn the whole device around, and I'm going to attach my other coil. And same as the other side, I'm going to attach the negative lead first. Just going to pull this around. Tighten down the screw. Make sure it's nice and snug. I'm just going to test this lead to make sure it's anchored, and it is. So now on this positive lead, go the opposite way. Okay. Now I'm just going to hold the two positive leads down while I tighten the positive post. And when you're tightening the positive post, you don't want to turn it so it's really, really tight, because it's going to start pulling this coil right here that doesn't have the drill bit in. So you want it just snug so that it's holding the wire, but you don't want to actually alter that coil. So you're going to test it a little bit, give it a little tiny bit of a tug, and you can see that it is anchored in place. And that's why you're going to need the wire snips, because you're not going to be able to wiggle these wires off. You'll have to clip them. So now I can go ahead and remove this drill bit. And what I'm going to do is, you can see these coils are really close to these posts. In fact, they might actually be touching the positive post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the drill bit back through each coil and just kind of pull them away from the post a little bit. And if you use the drill bit to do this, it shouldn't ruin your coil. So now I'm going to just put the drill bit through this coil and do the same thing to this side. Just pull it away from the posts a little bit. And you can see that's pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip my excess leads, the excess wire, and begin test firing it. So grab your wire cutters and just trim these wires as close as possible to the post. And what you can do is, if you have a little bit of excess wire, you can just push it in like that, just so it doesn't get caught on anything. Okay, now I'm going to unlock my device and begin test firing it. And as always, when you're test firing, just pulse the switch. You don't want to hold it down, because if you have a hot lead and you do that, you're just going to pop your coil. So just begin pulsing it, see if they glow evenly. Let's break in. And that looks like it's glowing pretty evenly. So now we can go ahead and put our cotton into our bill. The easiest way to attach cotton to a bill like this is to just twist it to a point. So once you have one end that's thin enough to go through the coil, just poke it through. And what I'm going to do for this, I'm going to grab my needle nose pliers, and I'm just going to pull it through a bit so I have a little bit of excess. And then I'm going to use this excess and tuck it in to the drip well, just so that I can hold a little bit more e-liquid in my build. Just like that. And then you're just going to unravel the cotton. Just get it all fluffed up. And then I'm going to trim it right above the posts. Just like that. Do the same on the other side. Get a little bit through, tuck it into the drip well, unravel it, get it all fluffed up, and then I'm going to trim it just so it's even with the other piece of cotton, like so. And now that you have your cotton in, we can go ahead and saturate it with e-liquid and test fire it while it's wet. Now I'm going to take my juice canister and I'm just going to saturate the wick. And you'll start to see the e-liquid saturate the piece of cotton that's on the bottom. And once you see that, I'm going to go ahead and start test firing. Get a little tiny bit more. Alright. Once again, unlock the device. And what I'm going to look for here while I'm test firing is just to see if any of these leads, any of these coils light up a lot brighter than other ones, which would indicate a hotspot. So you can see there's vapor coming off both coils and I don't see any hotspots, so we should be good to go. What I'm going to do to just help break in this build a little bit is just repeat that process about 3 times just to get the cotton nice and broken in. Vaping away nicely there. Alright, so now we can go ahead and fully saturate it. Before I put the top cap on, I'm just going to align the airflow ring so that it's set for dual coil mode. So you can align the air hole with a dimple on this side and a dimple on that side. That indicates dual coil mode. And then I'm just going to place the top cap onto the Anima and align the coils with my air holes. So last step is to just grab your mouthpiece, put it on, and that's your Anima fully built and ready to vape. Alright everyone, that's a wrap on this week's EDU. As always, I hope you found all the information useful and now know how to successfully rebuild your Anima. If you'd like additional information about the Anima or like to purchase one for yourself, you can find it at shop.vaperev.com.